Jay Chapelhow was able to react and get in there. And then there was the sin bin for Thomas Luluai, which he ran Danny Craven off the ball from a kick and totally justified sin binning. When he came back on at the start of the second half, was also Wigan reintroduced Sean O'Loughlin into the game as well, and basically scored 3 tries in 5 minutes. George Williams started running the ball a lot more and taking more of the ball kind of playing role, because Sam Powell was making terrible decisions in the first half when he was trying to lead the charge. So basically, George Williams took over that and started running the ball loads, and it got the Widnes defence kind of scared in that period. It made a lot of space for people like Escaray. The ball he put through for Willie Isa, the Ginger Pearl couldn't have done better himself with. And then Ryan Sutton came back off the bench. In the first half he played second row. When he moved into the front row in the second half, he was absolutely dynamic. He won every floor, every ruck he won, got quick play of the balls, and that was a big factor in Wigan scoring those 3 quick tries. It was the main talking point in the towards the end of the game, although it did get tense, and Tom Gilmore missed his only kick of the game, which would have squared it up with 5 minutes left. But was just before that there was the Joe Burgess injury. It was a short kickoff went up, and Burgess was just beaten to the ball by Matt Whitley. And then when Burgess landed, Whitley's weight appears to have gone into Burgess's leg and kind of bent the knee sideways rather than forwards and backwards. So it looks like it could be a bad one. Sean Wayne pointed out that Wigan have had 3 serious knee injuries on the Widnes pitch in the last 3 years. I don't know how much the pitch was to blame for it or not, because we saw serious injuries at other places this season, haven't we, that don't have that pitch. But there is an obvious trend there that we've been getting injuries on that pitch to people's knees.
Well, apparently that's why Sika Manu doesn't play at Widnes for Hull, because of his knees. Well,
Sam Tompkins didn't play as well because, and I don't think he's ever played on the high pitch.
Right, yeah.
They are. So there are some concerns for some players, certainly. They are ripping it up and replacing it with a newer version. It does look a tired old pitch. If you remember when they first came back into Super League, you could see like the Vikings logo in goal, and it looked quite new and fresh and stuff. And now it just looks almost like grey because there's that much black
it does, it's
being
really
able to be seen, So they are meant to be relaying it with a new one for next year, so maybe that'll be a bit more forgiving. I'm not sure, a bit more modern. We will see, but that's kind of the summing up of it. Took us through. I think for Wigan, there was good players in the second half, no real bad players in the second half. Marshall didn't exactly impose himself on the game, but I'm sure he'll grab a ton of tries when he moves back to the left wing from next week. For Widnes, I thought Alex Gerrard was really competitive and combative, and Hep Cahill, I think they could have done with him doing more minutes, because when he was on the field he was dangerous. But he wasn't on the field for huge minutes in this one, and that maybe he's trying to manage an injury situation, or just that's how the game was flowing for them at the time, because they were going well with the starting forward pack after they turned it around from the first 15 minutes. Morgan Escaray criticised his defence on the Jay Chapelhow try, but he pulled off an absolute class try saver on Tom Gilmore just before the sin binning it was. So you got to credit him there for that, and he scored a cracking try himself. Wigan second half team, pretty much. Widnes were good, Widnes were better than I thought they would be. There was a lot more fight in them. There wasn't huge amounts of creativity, but every time that they did get a string of passing going, they looked like they were dangerous. Ryan Ince finished his tries reasonably well. So there's promise there. I certainly felt better about Widnes' chances of squeaking into the top 8 over Salford or Wakefield after the game than I did before the game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought when we played them a couple of weeks ago that they were fairly decent. They weren't as bad as I'd been expecting from things I'd heard.
fair enough. Still injuries going on for them, but both teams had players out in this game, and both teams lost players during the game. So, stats. Wigan gave up 2 more penalties in a 10-8 count, but otherwise won on the most important stats. 8-6 in breaks, 110 more metres, more successful offloads and more tackle busts, a 4.5% team tackle success rate, so that's obviously a much better effort from Wigan than witnessing that. Significantly, it was 11-18 to 18 on errors in Wigan's favour, so a lot of errors there costing Widnes. In particular, Paul singled out an error at dummy half just after they'd scored the try that got them to within 2 points, and there was a couple of errors like that going down when they were chasing the game in the last 20 minutes, where they really were rushing things, and that impacted them quite a lot with their ability to get back into it. So that was what was costly for Widnes there. Individually, Oliver Gildart with a try, 2 try assists, 108 metres. Where is his new contract, please? Morgan Escray with a try, 7 tackle busts, 159 metres, 2 clean breaks, so underlining that he had a strong performance. Willie Isa, a try, 144 metres, 2 clean breaks. Taulima Tautai, a try assist, 6 tackle busts, 115 metres. His first real imposing game of the season, and boy did he need it, because he's not really been that impressive so far this year. And if Navarrete and Hamlin were taking their chances slightly better than they are, he wouldn't even be getting a look in, I wouldn't think. For the losing Widnes side, a credible losing Widnes side, Reece Hambry with 1 try assist, 5 tackle busts, 155 metres, 2 clean breaks. Alex Gerrard, 41 tackles, 10 of which were marker tackles, so big work from the big man. McGrath Luluai, 120 metres, and Matt Whitley, 112 metres. Right, the televised game, the final game of Fridays that we need to cover, Sarah, it finished with a relatively comfortable looking scoreline of Castleford 24, Wakefield 4. It was 10-4 at half time. 7,485 turned up to watch this local derby. Robert Hicks was the man with the whistle. Let's go through the fan views first, and I'm sure they'll pull out what we need to cover the most from these. Do you want to start with Karsten?
Yep, so Karsten says, Cass was better all over the park, even without Gale. That insert curse word obstruction rule is insert next curse word. Wakey lost the forward battle and Cass just used their chances.
Oh, look, he censored himself for you. That was nice.
He did.
Let's see if that continues. Adam Conley 87, he said, the Castleford pack dominated the Trinity forwards to set the platform for a professional performance. The game was lacking in flair, but the territorial dominance of the Tigers limited Wakefield to just the 4 points. Liam Watts continues to impress, and McShane is outstanding week in, week out. If Cass can find some consistency and spark out on the edges, they'll be there or thereabouts by the end of the season.
Fat Boy Rob says, the champions picked up their first silverware of the season by beating their postcode rivals for the 10th successive time. Our forwards finally stood up and the makeshift backs did the rest. Hicks was as piss poor as last week, but most of his petty calls went Cass's way, so I think it should be I don't seem to mind as much. Wakey were robbed of a perfectly good try for an invisible obstruction. Hashtag 10 in a row. Hashtag quadruple is on.
Hashtag Sarah says fuck.
Well, he hasn't got it anywhere in his review, so I thought,
Okay, Wakey White said, where to even begin with that bag of shite? The first half was one of the most woeful attacking displays by any side I've seen in years, and we still managed to score more than we did in the second half. Credit to Trin, though. They defended well and stuck to the task, but were robbed of their way back into a game by an obstruction call that would make an onion cry. Hull KR at home next is a must-win.
And Tim G says, Webster's head looked like a thumb cut opening an avocado. Decent shift again from McShane, but not quite a champion performance from Cass.
Okay, so my Sky didn't record this, so I've only seen the highlights and the bit at the touch screen with Grant Millington. So that showed the obstruction call, and I think that's where we're going to start on this one, isn't it? What did you make of all that? And you will obviously have seen it many more times than I did, because you'll have been watching the game, I assume.
Yeah, I was watching the game on Friday. I think Wakefield were hard done to. I think we need to actually it's just so hard to find a sort of explanation. It seemed that the obstruction that was ruled was so far away from the actual where the ball was that did it really infringe on the play or not? And Hicks's carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, no. One of the things that it seemed to be to me is it was as much the defender running into the attacker than the attacker obstructing the defender, because the defence had got caught out. Max Jowett had got out the back. It was a strong line by Tupu, who'd completely pulled the second defender in with him, took him well out of position, which, if anything, is what made the defender coming across get involved in the collision more than...
Yeah.
Like, the attacking runner would have got through the line had the defender who made the wrong choice not moved onto him.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
I feel that too often at the moment we're seeing multiple of these obstructions in a match, but they're being refereed in different ways. Because there was a Castleford one that was allowed and the Wakefield one that was disallowed, and earlier in the season there was the Hull one that was disallowed, whereas the Leeds one was allowed. And I just think they're just not clear-cut enough.
Yeah, I'd almost be inclined to say you can't go to the video referee for obstruction.
Yeah.
Because they're almost over analysing the situations. And
yeah, well, Robert Hicks said when he went to the bigger screen, he said, can you check for an obstruction somewhere over there, sort of with this vague wave of the arm, which could cover probably half of the pitch.
So what that'll mean is he didn't see it, but one of his touch judges said, oh, a defender's hit the deck in back play, do we need to check for an obstruction? That's probably what's happened, and you can't slag the referees or the match officials for that, because they're calling out. But if they couldn't go to the screen for that, that would stop that, like, kind of, we're unsure, let's have a look to see if there's any reason why we can stop people scoring tries. It feels like almost the object of that, of going to the video referee for obstruction, or the object of it almost seems, let's see if we can rule out a try, where I grew up with a system where benefit of the doubt was given to the attacking team.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, because it used to sometimes come up, didn't it? Benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, exactly. Before we had this live call system,
Yeah, whereas this felt like, I'd really like to disallow this try if you don't mind. Could you just sort of have a look and see if you can find something for me?
Well, I'm not even sure that the on-field officials were so keen to disallow it, but what you get now is they're so scrutinised, trial by video, and if there had been an obvious obstruction, they would have been slaughtered for that too. And because they saw players hitting the floor, defending players hitting the floor, they had to check it because of that. Whereas if you said you can't check it,
make a call,
then they would have been out. Yeah, so the call would have been, we didn't see an obstruction, we saw it coming together, but we don't think it obstructed the play.
Yeah.
And then you go more back to what we want the rule to achieve, which is stopping kind of intentional blocking plays.
Yeah.
But not stopping every single dummy runner from ever being able to run a dummy running line.
Well, this is it, yeah, because it gets to the point then where, only one player's going to move, we're going to have no dummy runners.
And what you get is defenders.
And it'll become a very boring game.
Yeah, and you get defenders sort of deliberately making sure they make contact when they're running across the field, rather than trying to avoid the man that's gone through the line. They'll change their own sort of approach to make sure they get contacted by the man that's run through the line.
Yeah, throw themselves into it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's what McMeekin did on this occasion at all. I think it was more influenced by the defending player from the inside than I think it was McMeekin going across. But yeah, I definitely think we need to sort it out. Do you know, I was in a back and forth yesterday about kind of consistency of decision making with a couple of listeners. It was more on Twitter. It was more about direct head contact, but then going and finding an old blog